Hey adventurers, so today is going to be a series check-in as of February 2025. So I've done a couple of these, I think two other times that I've filmed a series check-in where I just talk about the books that I have read and, or the series that I am currently reading that I have ongoing or whatever, or what's happened since last time I did a series check-in. I believe, if I remember correctly, I did one September of 2022, then May of 2023, and so I'm well due for a new one. So we're just gonna go through, and I've got these split up into ongoing, caught up, started, DNF'd, and finished. And so ongoing are the series that I have ongoing that I'm more than one book in on. Caught up are the ones that I have read all the books that are out in the series. Started are the ones that I've read book one in the series. DNF'd are the ones that I have stopped reading for whatever reason. And finished are the ones that I have finished since last time we talked. There's a lot of series on this list. I think I have 43 that are somewhere between started and ongoing and caught up. So that's a lot of series. I did not realize I had that many series going, but I do. And I haven't made that much progress in closing out series. So let's go through this and see what we've got. First off, I've got Redwall. There's 2 books still in this series that I have not read, plus all the books that I am doing on this reread. And so 2 books for sure that I need to read to complete this, have completed the series, and then another, I think I've got another 10 or 15 or probably not 15, probably another 10 or 12 that I have not yet read upon this reread of the entire series. And that reread has started as of my second video on the channel, which was a review of Martin the Warrior. So I've not made a ton of progress. I'm going way too slow through that. I should just buckle down and finish it up. Then I have The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Redwall is by Brian Jakes. I have The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. This is a 15-book series with the prequel, so 14 plus a prequel. And I have read 14 of the books so far. I have read books 1 through 13 and the prequel. Is that right? Is it 15 books with the prequel or 14 books with the prequel? I don't know. But I have, as of the time of this, as of February 2025, I have read up through, what is that book's title? The book is titled Towers of Midnight, which is the penultimate book in the series. And so I just have one book, which is Memories of Light, I believe is the final book in the series to go. And then I will have completed The Wheel of Time. Yeah, that's a great place to be. Protectors of Prytani by Mike Mullman. I am actually not caught up on this series, but almost, because I am currently reading book 4 on ebook, which is Protectors or Desperate Dispatches. And so I'm going to be finishing that up. It'll be another month or so before I finish it, probably. It'll be another 3 weeks before I finish it. Protectors of Prytani, but that one I'm making good progress on that. And book 5 is not, I have not heard of a release date for book 5 as of yet, so I think I'm still okay on that one. Maze Runner, I have read the first 2 books in the series. This is by James Dashner. I've read the first 2 books in the series, and I need to get back to it because I like dystopian. I like the first 2 books well enough, and I do want to get back to it, but it's not hugely pressing. I should just put the next audiobook on hold because I probably will come through pretty quick, and I do enjoy them, and they're good audiobooks to listen to. So maybe I should do that so that I can continue working through it. Greentown, this is by Ray Bradbury, and this is a technically, because there's all the books in this series are technically standalones that just happen to take place in the same town, and so they are connected in that way, and that's why they're considered a series, but they're not actually connected. I've read 2 of these books, which is Something That Wicked This Way Comes and Dandelion Wine. 2 of my favorite books of his that I've read so far. Absolutely fantastic, both of them. And I don't remember what the other books in the series are called. There's either 1 or 2 or 1 in a novella or something like that, 1 in a short story maybe. And so I need to continue with those, but I don't know exactly what I need to read. I just need to look it up. But I'm perfectly happy to, because I've loved every moment that I've spent with Ray Bradbury. Leatherstocking Tales by James Fenimore Cooper. This is the Deer Slayer and The Last of the Mohicans. The next book in the series is titled Pathfinder. Pathfinder is what it's called. And so I need to read Pathfinder, and I'm looking forward to it. It will be fairly soon that I pick that one up. Probably probably in March at this point. But very, very excited to read that one and continue through that series, because I love the first 2 books that I read by Cooper in this Leatherstocking Tales. Lightbringer by Brent Weeks. This is another one where I've been waiting. I have pushed it off and put it off and put it off for far too long, but I actually have a little bit of an excuse for this one, and that is my library got rid of the audiobook for book 4. So I've read the first 3, and I can't read the 4th book because there's no audiobook for it at our local library anymore. And so I'm still waiting for either them to get a new one or for me to be able to have time to read it physically, which I don't own it physically, or me to just cave and buy book 4 on Audible or something like that, which I don't like doing because it's a middle book in a series, and I want all the books in the series if I'm going to have any of them type thing, and or at least I want the first one and not the 4th one, but we'll see. I'll probably end up just caving and buying that 4th book at some point. Children of the Consortium by Kathy McCrum. The Children of the Consortium by Kathy McCrum. I've read the first 2 books, and the 3rd book is out, and I just have not yet read it because I don't own it. I do want to, and that's definitely on the plans. I need to buy it so that I can have it, so that I can read it. The Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. I have completed book 1 and book 2, which is book 1 is Out of the Silent Planet, book 2 is Paralandra, and book 3 is That Hideous Strength, I believe, and so I need to read book 3. I should have had this completed last year, and I did not, because I failed in my year of Lewis, and that's fine. I've talked about that plenty. But the Space Trilogy is one that I need to continue on with. What I ended up doing with this one is I read the first about first third of it on physical, and then I got the audiobook and read the second 2/3. Listened to it because it's slow physical reading for me. Beyond just me being a slow physical reader and not having time to physically read, it was also just I was moving very slowly through that book physically, and so I wanted to get through it and actually get into it a little bit at a more reasonable pace. Legends of the First Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. I have read the first 3 books, I believe now, which is Age of Myth, Age of Swords, and Age of War. And I believe it's a 5-book series with the rest of the Rhaeria world being part of it as well. But for this Legends of the First Empire series, I need to read the final 2 books, I believe, in the series. Unless it's less than 5 or more than 5, then I need to read however many is left in that series. That's not one that I feel like I'm pressed to get to the next book on, though. I want to, and I want to finish it up, and I'm enjoying it well enough, but it's not a favorite series for me at all. How to Train Your Dragon by Cressida Cowell, or translated by Cressida Cowell. This is one where I have read 8 of them or something like that. I mean, they're like 2-hour, 3-hour audiobooks or something like that, and so I just put them on and finish them up real quick, and it's just a fun middle grade series type thing, and I don't need to think too much about it, but I have enjoyed them, in the dragons, and it's How to Train Your Dragon, and they're like classics and stuff like that of children's literature type thing, and so I have enjoyed them well enough, and I will keep going through them eventually probably, but I'm not super pressed on this one either. It's just kind of whatever one's next I'll read next. The Sackets by Louis L'Amour. This one I have read the first 5 or 6 books in the series, and there's the whole rest of the Sackett series that I have not yet read. The Sackets is a series of standalones once again. They're characters that are all part of the same family, and then you can follow them down through the history of the United States, and that's great. It's super fun. I really enjoy them. I really enjoy Louis L'Amour and the Western genre as a whole, and so I do want to get back to that one, and I do want to read more Louis L'Amour, but I don't physically own the next book in the series, and so I have not yet continued on with that. And for some reason, I have never even considered doing audiobooks for anything Louis L'Amour. It's always been like, no, I'm going to read this physically. So maybe I'll consider reading them on audiobook. Most likely I'll just keep doing them physically when I get a chance. The Unbreakable Trilogy, or the More Than Human Universe, both of them are kind of tied together. The universe as a whole is a bunch of standalone things set in a shared universe. But the Unbreakable Trilogy specifically, the reason why I say I'm not caught up on it is technically, yes, I'm caught up on the Unbreakable Trilogy, but not on the More Than Human Universe. So there's 2 books out in the Unbreakable Trilogy, More Than a Vampire and More Than a God War, both of which I have read, and then there's 2 more books out in the More Than Human Universe, which is More Than a Gunslinger, which I have read, and More Than a Legend. More than a Legend, I believe, is the fourth book that is out in this universe, and I have not read that one, and so I'm caught up on the Unbreakable trilogy, but not on the universe as a whole, and so I'm putting it in this ongoing series. The Pendragon Cycle by Stephen R. Lawhead. I was caught up until book 5 released, and so now it's ongoing. Or book 6, I guess, which is a prequel. Aurelia is the final book in the series that I have not yet read. Plus, Avalon is kind of considered by some people to be part of the series. I'm not sure if it is or not. I'm not counting it as part of the series. I'm just counting Aurelia as part. And I need to go read Aurelia, and I haven't yet. That'll be soon. That'll probably be, quite honestly, my next audiobook at the time of filming this. So yeah, those are the series that I have ongoing. So I have 14 series just right there that are ongoing that I need to read. Then, as for the series that I'm caught up on, these are the series that I have read all the books that are released in the series. So we've got Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I have read all 7 of the books that are currently out in this series. Book 8, which is the Era 3. Book 1 has not yet come out, and I don't even think that's coming out this year. I think that'll be, that's next year before it comes out, or maybe even 2 years before it comes out. I'm not sure. So it'll be a while before I need to work on more Mistborn. If I even do, I may by that point decide, you know what, I'm done with Sanderson. I don't know. We will see what happens. Stormlight Archive, same deal. Book 5 of Stormlight Archive, Wind and Truth, just came out, and quite honestly, I didn't love it. I haven't done my review of it yet. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. There was some good things, some really high highs, some really low lows. It just, a lot of stuff where I truly, and I'm pretty sure this is the common opinion of most people, truly believe that this series that Sanderson needs an editor, a better editor, and he needs to take seriously the feedback that he's been getting, because this book 5 was not what we as the audience wanted or needed from the finale of this first arc of Stormlight Archive. Anyways, all that aside, I am caught up on the Stormlight Archive, and I will see what happens when I continue with this series. I may or may not continue, quite honestly. I don't know. Collation Saga by Andrew D. Meredith. The first 4 books are out. I have read all 4 books, plus the prequel novella and the short story that is in The Advent of Winter. So I've read everything Collation related, which is its own series, which is going to be 8-book series split into 2 parts. Books 1 through 4 is a one major part, and then books 5 through 8 is a major part. I have read books 1 through 4, so I am caught up on Collation Saga. Phase by Tori Tekken. There's only 1 book out. This is a duology. I have read the first book, which is Phase. The second book, I don't remember what its title is. I can't think of the proposed title of the second book at the moment. So, but anyways, I am caught up on Phase by Tori Tekken. Same with Legend of the Bruhai by Tori Tekken. I have read the first book in the series. This is her big epic fantasy series, or a prequel series to her big epic fantasy series type thing. And my favorite book of 2024 was the first book in the series, which is titled The Bloodstones. And so yeah, I'm caught up on that series, which is great. I'm glad that people don't all write 3 books a year. That's way too much. I can't read that fast. Lawful Times by Daniel Green. We will see. This could be a DNF series, very, very possibly. As of now, it is a caught-up series. I have read the 2 books that are out in that series, and that, quite honestly, is likely all that I will read. Yeah, I'm going to leave that there. Calculated by Nova McBee. There are 3 books out in the series, and I am waiting for the 4th book, because we've been waiting for the 4th book since the 3rd book came out. So books 1, 2, and 3 are calculated, simulated, and activated, and book 4 is supposed to be liberated, but it has not yet come out. It is supposed to come out this year, I believe. From all that I've heard, it's supposed to come out this year. Wars of Wrath by I Anonymous. The first 2 books, Gurzil and Baden Hill, I have read. This is an Arthurian fantasy series. I have read the first 2 books in the series, and I've read the prologue of the 3rd book, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard a peep from the author in a long time, so I don't know what's going on with that series. I would really hope that it's coming out, but I just don't know what's going on with that. But I am caught up and would like to continue with that series if I can. The Locke Institute trilogy by, what's his name? A.R. Witham. The Locke Institute trilogy by A.R. Witham. This is one that I am also caught up on. The first 2 books are out now. third book will be coming out fairly soon, but it is not yet. It's this summer is when the third book comes out. I'll most likely get an e-arc before then that I'll probably read before then, and so I should be able to stay caught up with that series. And it's a trilogy, so it's ending soon, but I am caught up on that one, and very fun. I love that series. The Awakening series by Jonathan Renshaw. The first book is Dawn of Wonder. The second book is on hold indefinitely. The author does plan to write it, but he is currently dealing with a lot of medical issues, and so he's not able to focus his attention on something as massive and consuming as an epic fantasy series like The Awakening. So he's working on a different sci-fi story that I'm very intrigued by, and hopefully that comes out soon, and then hopefully fairly soon here he'll be able to continue working on his The Awakening, because I've loved Dawn of Wonder. That's one of my favorite books that I've read in a very, very long time, and I hope that the author is able to continue writing that series. So those are the series that I am caught up on. That's another 10 series. So I've got a lot of series going here. As for started, these are the series that I have started that I have not yet continued with, but I do plan to. Dune by Frank Herbert. I have read Dune, the first book. I have not continued on with the series, but I really, really want to. I'm certain that I'm going to love the series once I continue reading. Or at least the first 3 books, which is what everybody says are the best ones. Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne Jones. I have read the first book in the series, and I have not continued with the series. I don't even think that's the series name. I don't know what the series name is for that, but whatever the case is, I believe that's a trilogy, and I have not yet continued with that series. I would like to. I am just remembering how lovely that first book is, how enjoyable it is just to sit down and read, and so I'm hoping that I enjoy the other 3 books by Jones, or the other 2 books in that series by Jones, and we'll see once I get there. I reminded now that I should read that. I enjoyed that. Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. This is the canon Thrawn trilogies that he published in the 2010s. I have read the first book, which is Thrawn. I own the second book, which is Thrawn Alliances, and then I believe the third book in the series is Ascendancy, maybe? I don't know. Maybe that's the second trilogy in the canon trilogy that I wrote. I'm not sure. Either way, I've read the first book, enjoyed it. I need to continue on. I like Star Wars. Ashes of Averin by Thiago Abdallah. I've read the first book and I've read the prequel, which the first book is A Touch of Light. The prequel is what is the prequel titled? A Prelude to Ashes is the prequel to the Ashes of Averin, and I want to continue with that series. I really, really, really enjoyed A Touch of Light, and I want to continue. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I don't even know how many books are out in the series. I think the first main series has 6 books, maybe 5, maybe. I don't remember, something like that. And I've only read the first one, and I'll read those, but I'm not DNFing them, the series, because I do want to read more. I'm not opposed to reading more at all in the series, but it is not a favorite series of mine by any means, and it's not a pressing series. The Weaver trilogy by Lindsay Franklin. I read the first book, which is The Story Peddler, and very, very much enjoyed the magic system and the world, but I want to continue with the series. I want to reread the first book, The Story Peddler, and then I want to continue with the series, because I think that I can find more to enjoy about it this time around. The Ruritanian Romances by, who's this by? First book in the series is The Prisoner of Zenda. I cannot remember the author's name. I should look. Anthony Hope is the author of The Prisoner of Zenda, and so, I read that one, and I want to continue with the series, which is The Ruritanian Romances, which there are another 3 books in the series, I think. 2 books in the series, maybe, for a trilogy total or something like that. His Dark Materials by, I should know that author too. First book is The Golden Compass. Oh, wow. I was doing good on author names. Philip Pullman, that's right. Philip Pullman wrote his Dark Materials series, and so I do kind of want to continue with that series. Again, it's not pressing. I'm more intrigued by what's to come in this series than I am in the likes of Skyward. Spokane Clock Tower Mysteries by Patricia Meredith. I have read the first book. I have the second 2 books in this trilogy, or series. It's not a trilogy, it's a series. I have the first 3 books in the series. I have only read the first one. I want to continue with the series because I like mysteries occasionally, depending on how they're done. But I've really enjoyed Patricia Meredith as an author, and her husband Andrew D. Meredith as well, obviously. And so I want to continue with that. Hopefully. Okay, and attempt 3. Let's try and continue where I left off. My phone ran out of space that I was recording on, and so I deleted some stuff, and I tried again, and it ran out of space after 22 seconds. So we're going to try through this again, even though I had made a lot of progress. Alright, let's go. I was talking about Spokane Clock Tower Mysteries. Basically, I'm just saying that I hope that I enjoy them because I should, and I really enjoyed the first one, and I hope that I continue enjoying that series. Then I read the first book in World War II, 1939 to 1945 by Jeff Shaara. This is a trilogy. The first book is The Rising Tide, and this is World War II history, historical fiction. Trying to rethink of the thoughts that I already said once or twice actually is not super easy. Now, all right, what do I want to say about this third time? I really enjoyed it. I read it towards the end of last year. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the writing style. I really enjoy learning about history and about World War II. I really enjoy reading historical fiction, all that kind of stuff. The book just really worked really well for me, and so I'm happy to continue with it. I'm not dying to read the next book in the series, but it is one where, yes, I will absolutely be continuing with this series sooner rather than later. The next series, Dance of Light by Gregory Contaxis. The first book is Return of the Knights, and I read this one, and this is not a DNF series because there's a very good chance that I could return to it at some point, but it's not a series that I am guaranteed to return to. I would like to if I can, but I don't know that I will. I have no specific desire to return to it, but I also have no specific desire to stop reading it. If the next book, if I happen to have the next book and I happen to have time to read it, I will read it. But if not, I'm not worried about it. So that is that one. Winter Night Trilogy, very similar situation. I read the first book, which is the Bear and the Nightingale. This is by Catherine Arden. I read the first book in the series, in the trilogy, and I enjoyed it well enough. It's not my favorite book I've ever read, but I enjoyed it well enough. I am willing to continue with the series, but there's also enough things about it where it was just like, I don't need to continue with the series. I'm not feeling like I'm missing out on something if I don't continue. I'm glad I read it. I don't regret the time that I read it, but it's not one that I am particularly anxious to continue on with the series. I don't need to. I'm fine with book 1. I'm glad that I read it and saw what it was about and saw what I thought of book 1, but if I never read the next book in the series, that's fine. If I do, that's fine too. Flavia de Luce by, I should actually get the author's name. I believe it's Alan Bradley. Yes, Alan Bradley is the author. The first book is The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie. This is a series of mystery novels about a young female character who is going about on her adventures, dealing with all these mysteries as they happen. I enjoyed this first book way more than I ever expected to. It was one where I asked some of my friends, I was like, hey, can you give me some audiobook recommendations? And what ended up happening is they were like, well, try this one, and all of them, like is usually the case, my library didn't have them or they weren't available, and so I was just like, well, what's another one? Eventually one of them said, try this one, and so I looked up and I was like, that one's available. I don't really want to read it, but that one's available. So I read it, and I ended up really enjoying it a lot more than I ever expected to. So if I continue with that series, so yeah, I'm perfectly happy to continue with that series at some point. Again, it's not one where I feel a pressing need to continue, but it's one where absolutely, if I just need another audiobook, I'll pull it out or request the second book in the series or whatever and keep listening. Aubrey and Maturin. This is the Master and Commander series that the movie is based off of. I read the first book, really enjoyed it. I love all of these. I read the first book. That's why they're in this started section. What am I saying? I read this first book, really enjoyed it. I like the naval aspects about it, of the Navy ship just going around doing Navy things, and that's a lot of fun. I enjoyed a lot of this entire series, this entire book. It's a little bit dry, a little bit slow, but it's also just very enjoyable, very atmospheric. And yeah, I just greatly enjoyed it. Perfectly happy to continue on with the series whenever I get to it. And it is one that I do want to continue on with the series because I really enjoy the historical fiction aspect of it. I really enjoy the Navy aspect of it. So yeah, all that stuff is really good. A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. I read the first book because I needed something and it was available, and I watched the Netflix series back when that was coming out, and I really enjoyed that. So the first book is very, very similar to the series, or maybe I guess the series was very similar to the first book, and so I suspect that's probably the case with the rest of the series, or with the rest of the books as well. But even with that, I don't feel like if I've watched the series, I don't need to read the books. I feel like I can read the books and enjoy them for them being books and the other ones being a series, even though the series was so faithful of an adaptation. Stuff like that. So yeah, that's another one. It's younger age range than I generally gravitate towards anymore, but I enjoyed it well enough. If I need an audiobook type thing, if I need something light, that's absolutely the type of thing that I would go for, just because it's easy. The Dan Trilogy by Philip Chase. I read the first book. Again, I keep saying that about this series. I wonder why about this on this list. Anyways, I read the Way of a Dan, which is book 1. I enjoyed The Way of a Dan. It is not a favorite book of all time. It is not a favorite fantasy book, anything like that. I thought it was solid. I thought that the inspirations are very visible, very obvious to me, partly because I've heard the author talk about them a lot, partly because I've heard the author talk quite a bit, but I did enjoy what I was reading. I thought it was fun. I thought it was an interesting take on it's very much modern, or very much following along the lines of classic fantasy with a lot of the medieval literature inspirations filtering into it. So yeah, I do want to continue with the Dan trilogy, but it's not I really hope that the second book is better than the first book, because while I did enjoy the first book, it wasn't a favorite for me at all. Strange the Dreamer duology by Laini Taylor. I read the Strange the Dreamer, which is book 1. I will actually continue with this and read Muse of Nightmares, which is book 2 at some point, but I don't know when. This is not one that's super pressing, but it is one that I would probably like to get to sooner rather than later so that I don't forget all that happened. I probably won't. I think that I have a fairly good mental image of what happened in that book, so I probably won't forget it, but I do want to continue with that. The first book, I think mostly I am not the target audience for that first book. I enjoyed a lot about it. There was some things that I was kind of not sure why they were done the way that they were done or whatnot, but I, for the most part, enjoyed the first book, and I will probably continue with this onto the second book at some point. All right, so that is the series that I have started, read the first book of, but not yet continued. DNF'd. So I have 3 series that I have DNF'd. The first one is The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. I read the first book, enjoyed the first book enough to be like, yeah, I want to read the second book. I read the second book, I was like, I read the third book, and I was like, I don't have any desire to pick up the next book, especially since there's a lot of people who say you have to read till this book before it gets good, or book 5 is a good book for this character or something like that. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna spend my time to get there for it to be good, especially when I don't know that it's going to be good. Another series that I did this with that I don't know if I ever mentioned, but it was a DNF series as well, is Ranger's Apprentice by John Flanagan. And I read the first book. I read the first book, enjoyed the first book a lot. Read the second book, I was like, where is this going? You've kind of wrapped up the entire series in book 2. Read the third book, and I was like, this is dry as dust. I don't want to continue. And then hearing people say, oh, but you have to get to this book before it gets good. I'm like, that's not worth it. I'm not reading that many books before it gets good. So yeah, Dresden Files, one that I'm not going to continue with. Southern Reach by Jeff Vandermeer. I read the first 3 books, loved Annihilation, book 1, enjoyed book 2, which is Authority. Didn't much care for book 3. It was fine. I could read it. There was enjoyable things about it, but it wasn't nearly as good as book 1 or even book 2. And then book 4 is Acceptance, I believe. And I enjoyed the first 2 parts of Acceptance a lot. That final section of the book I could not listen to. Like I shut the book off because I could not listen to what was going on in that book. I'm very disappointed that I couldn't continue with the series. I'm very disappointed that I couldn't finish up with the series that I had been enjoying up until that point. And just that last section, I got to a point where I would pause it and I could breathe. It was hurting my ears listening to it, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And so I shut it off. And I'm disappointed that has to be the case, but it is technically a DNF series at this point. Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. I read the first book, which is All Systems Red, I believe. It was literally the epitome of meh for me. It was just like, there was nothing about it that made me enjoy it, nothing about it that made me hate it, but it was just so average, so middle of the road, just absolutely nothing going for it for me, that I was just like, I don't need to read the next book. I have no desire to continue on with the series, and I have I have the first 4 or whatever on audiobook for free from Audible, and I don't care. I don't ever care if I continue with that series. Like, I guess I wouldn't be offended if I did continue with it, but it's also just like there was not enough there for me to enjoy it. And again, people say, oh, well, you have to wait to get to this book before it gets good. And again, I say, no, I'm not waiting to get to a book before the series gets good, before I start enjoying what I'm reading. There's way too many things that I know I'm going to enjoy for me to read the series that I am not enjoying. So those are the 3 DNF series that I have finished. Now I can talk about the series that I finished, of which I have 5 since the last time that I checked in. Now you can see how bad I have done as a reader. Threadlet by Zach Argyle. I have read the first book, and now I have read the second 2 books in the trilogy. I enjoyed them quite a bit. The third book plays with a concept that I don't care for. I picked holes in it too often. I don't care for the way that it works out, stuff like that. So I enjoyed it. I actually, the series as a whole, I greatly enjoyed. Book 2 is my favorite of the series. The Time Quintet by Madeleine L'Engle. Wrinkle in Time is the first book in the series. I have since finished the series, I believe. I don't think there's any other books left in the series. I have not yet done a review for the 5th book in the series, which is titled An Acceptable Time, I believe. I don't know if I will, quite honestly. I'm coming up on when I would do a review for it, because I'm getting to that section. I do reviews chronologically, unless I need to slip in a new release, but I do them chronologically from the time that I read them. And one of the next books that I read in terms of release order, or in terms of reading order, is An Acceptable Time. And so I may or may not do a review of this. I have to see once I get there. The Rune Lords by David Farland. Last time I did an update of this, I was on book 6 of the series, and I have read the rest of the series that is out. This is actually technically a caught up series, not a finished series. I have it listed as finished because I have finished all the books that are out, and we don't know if the 9th and final book will ever come out, because the author did die before he could finish the 9th book, and supposedly it's continuing being worked on by another author or a couple authors or something like that, but it has not yet been released. And so yeah, that's all. I don't know if there will ever be a 9th book to read, but I have read the entire series as it exists. So yeah, Rune Lords is great. I highly recommend Rune Lords. That was so much fun. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I read it's a duology, Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 2. The Lost World, I believe, is what the second book is called. And I enjoyed them both, and I read them both, and yeah, I don't have much to say about them. They're Jurassic Park. The movies are really good. The books are also really good. Both different. I would actually still say that the books are probably better, although there are some things that the movies did better, I think. But I did read both those books, so that's good. Just a duology, so it's not like a huge... Oh, you know what? That's another series that I started that I haven't continued. Father and I Were Ranchers is the first book. The series is Little Britches. That's the series title. I read the first book, Little Britches, back in 2022, so it's been a long time. So it doesn't even hardly count anymore. But technically I did read the first book in that series anyways. And then the last series that I finished is Wizard Knight by Gene Wolfe. I read this one in when October, November, December, I believe, or maybe September, October, November, December. I think it was October, November, December. I read the Wizard Knight, which is a duology, fantasy duology, medieval, Arthurian, a little bit, stuff like that. But it's Gene Wolfe, notoriously complex, I'll say, and I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of fun. It was definitely more enjoyable because I was able to discuss it with Liam and Shane and Britton. And so that was a lot of fun to be able to go through that series, that duology with those guys and discuss it as we were going and talk about our thoughts as we went. So yeah, that was that. So those 5 series I have completed, which is yay for me. I completed 5 series out of the like 45 that I have going or whatever. So yeah, that's not great numbers. I need to try and make some serious progress on finishing these up. Space Trilogy is one that I'm going to finish up this year. Wheel of Time is one that I'm going to finish up this year. So both of those are going to be good ones to knock off the list. What else? I would like to continue and maybe even finish Leatherstocking Tales this year. At least continue it. Children of the Consortium I'd like to finish. So there's several that I would like to continue and finish, and I probably will, or get caught up on at the very least and stuff like that. So that's a lot of good stuff. It's just humbling to see how many books how many series I have started but I have not finished or continued on with in a long time. With just the series that I have ongoing, it would be years worth of reading just to read those books, not to read any standalones, not to start any new series, just to read those books that are in those series. It's going to take me, especially physically reading, it'd probably be 10 years just with physically reading. On audiobook, it'd probably take me 2, maybe 3 years to get through everything on this list. So yeah, there's a lot of reading there. I need to be better and I need to actually make some progress on these series, but I am doing better. I do believe that I am making some progress, and that's all good stuff. So anyways, this has been a much longer video than I wanted it to be, and it doesn't help that I had to film sections of it 3 times. Anyways, thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you guys again soon. Stay warm.